The world stands at a historic crossroads, not on a battlefield, but in the silent, complex world of global finance. The US dollar has been the king of currencies for nearly a century, anchoring international trade and symbolizing American power. Now, a rising coalition called BRICS is openly challenging that dominance, building new systems and alliances to create a multipolar financial world. This isn't just a story for economists, it will shape the global order for generations, affecting everything from gas prices to geopolitical power. The contest is reaching a fever pitch as BRICS expands, representing a huge share of the world's population and GDP. Their leaders are pushing for de-dollarization, reducing reliance on the US dollar in trade, and developing their own payment systems. The US has responded with economic tools like steep tariffs, escalating tensions, and sending shockwaves through global markets. The stakes are enormous. A decline in the dollar's value could trigger unprecedented instability, while some experts argue the fears are overblown. The dollar's deep markets and lack of a true alternative still give it strength, but BRICS' efforts are more than symbolic. In this video, we'll explore the history of the dollar's reign, the rise of BRICS, and what this contest means for nations, businesses, and ordinary people. We'll hear from leading economists on both sides of the debate. Is this the slow decline of an economic empire, or just Western fear-mongering? The answer will define the economic landscape of the 21st century. The story is still being written, day by day. To understand today's challenge, we must first see how the US dollar became so powerful. After World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement made the dollar the world's reserve currency, backed by gold. Other countries pegged their currencies to the dollar, placing the US at the center of global finance. Even after the gold standard ended in 1971, the dollar's dominance continued, especially with the rise of the petrodollar system, oil priced exclusively in dollars. This created constant global demand for the currency and cemented its role in trade. The US gained an exorbitant privilege. It could print money to finance deficits and wield sanctions as a tool of foreign policy. But this power also bred resentment and a desire for alternatives. Today, the dollar still accounts for over half of global reserves and dominates foreign exchange trades. Its liquidity and deep markets are unmatched. Any challenger must not only create a rival currency, but also dismantle a complex system built over 80 years. The task is monumental. BRICS began as an investment acronym in 2001, grouping Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Fast-growing economies expected to reshape the world. Policymakers in these nations saw a shared interest in gaining more influence in global institutions dominated by the West. The group evolved from an idea to a political reality, holding its first summit in 2009 and adding South Africa in 2010. Their frustration with dollar dependence grew after crises like 2008 and the increasing use of US sanctions. BRICS responded by creating the new Development Bank and a $100 billion reserve fund, alternatives to the World Bank and IMF. These moves were the first steps toward a parallel financial system, less vulnerable to American influence. The bloc's early actions signaled a determination to rewrite the rules of global finance. The stage was set for a new era. In 2024, BRICS expanded dramatically, adding Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE, bringing in major Middle Eastern powers and energy producers. Indonesia joined in 2025, making BRICS Plus a 10-member coalition representing 45% of the world's population and over a third of global GDP. With top oil producers inside, the bloc gained real leverage over energy markets and global trade. The expansion signaled a growing desire for alternatives to the Western-led order. Now, about 1/5 of global oil sales are in non-dollar currencies, a trend set to accelerate. BRICS' gravitational pull is growing, with dozens of countries seeking partnership or membership. The bloc now rivals the G7 in economic size, by purchasing power, and controls key commodities. This is no longer just a club of emerging markets, it's a heavyweight contender. The challenge to the dollar is now credible and global. The world is watching. The stakes have never been higher. BRICS isn't just talking about de-dollarization, it's building the infrastructure to make it real. Member nations are ramping up trade in local currencies, reducing their need for dollars and sidestepping US sanctions. The idea of a single BRICS currency is still distant, given the bloc's political and economic differences. Instead, the focus is on payment systems. The BRICS Bridge, a blockchain-based platform, aims to bypass SWIFT and allow direct transactions. Project M-Bridge, involving China, the UAE and others, has already proven real-value cross-border payments are possible. These systems promise faster, cheaper, and more independent trade, without touching the US dollar. This quiet, step-by-step work is already eroding the dollar's dominance. It's less dramatic than a new currency, but potentially far more disruptive. The future of global payments is being built, out of sight but not out of mind. The dollar's monopoly is under real threat. The US has responded to BRICS' rise with assertive measures, seeing de-dollarization as a direct threat. The Trump administration's second term has brought steep tariffs, up to 50%, on goods from BRICS members, with threats of even higher rates. This protectionist stance aims to punish challengers and protect US industries, but it's a double-edged sword. Economists warn tariffs raise prices for Americans and slow growth for all. The policy has pushed some BRICS nations closer together, accelerating the trend the US wants to stop. Meanwhile, America's own vulnerabilities are growing. By late 2025, U.S. national debt soared past $38 trillion, with interest payments consuming over 40% of federal tax revenue, more than the defense budget. Critics say this borrowing is unsustainable and erodes the dollar's value. BRICS leaders point to U.S. debt as proof the dollar is no longer a reliable store of value. The argument is gaining traction, fueling a global shift away from the dollar and into assets like gold. The US is fighting an external challenge while facing a crisis of confidence at home. The world is watching closely. The outcome is far from certain. The BRICS dollar contest is shaking the global economy, creating clear winners and losers. If the dollar weakens, American consumers lose, imports get pricier, inflation rises, and living standards fall. BRICS nations could benefit: stronger currencies, more competitive exports, and a new era for emerging market consumers. Global trade flows would shift, creating new economic power centers. Central banks are moving reserves into gold, with 2025 seeing record gold purchases and prices. For the first time, gold held by central banks surpasses their U.S. Treasury holdings, a vote of no confidence in the dollar. This transition is risky. A disorderly dollar decline could trigger a crisis bigger than 2008. Volatile currencies, disrupted trade, and a global credit crunch are real dangers. Even the perception of instability can freeze investment and spending. The world is entering a period of profound uncertainty. Experts are sharply divided on the dollar's future. Some, like Peter Schiff, warn of imminent collapse, citing U.S. debt, inflation, and BRICS rise as a perfect storm. They argue that weaponizing the dollar has backfired, pushing countries to seek alternatives and breaking the trust that underpinned its dominance. They predict a fragmented, multipolar world with reduced American influence. Others urge calm, pointing to the dollar's unmatched scale, liquidity, and deep integration in global finance. They argue that dismantling the dollar's web would be costly for all, and that BRICS' internal divisions make a true alternative unlikely. While local currency trade may rise, no single asset rivals the safety and acceptance of the dollar and U.S. treasuries. Until a credible alternative exists, the world will stick with the dollar by default. The debate is fierce, but the outcome remains uncertain. The world is watching for the next move. The stakes are global. The future is unwritten. As 2025 ends, the global financial order is more contested than ever. BRICS' expansion, new payment systems, and gold buying are calculated moves to create a multipolar world. Meanwhile, the US faces internal challenges, soaring debt and aggressive tariffs, while the dollar's share of global reserves slowly declines. The question is no longer if the system will change, but how and how fast. A gradual transition could bring balance. A sudden collapse could unleash chaos. The path forward depends on choices in Washington, Beijing, and beyond, and on technological innovation. The world is holding its breath, watching to see if the dollar's throne will stand or fall. This is the start of a new chapter in the story of money and power. The tectonic plates of global finance are shifting. The world of tomorrow will not look like the world of yesterday.